you'll see this button here that says Start a Transaction. And when you click this, it is going to open a new tab in your e-signature program, regardless if it's Docusign or .loop. It will prompt you to log in just for security purposes. So as you can see, I'm now in my Docusign room, and a room is just essentially a folder within your Docusign account that corresponds to the opportunity you created in Command. So you can see here the name of my room is 12345 Main Street, and if I pop back to Command for a second, you'll see that's the exact same name as my opportunity. So these two systems are now connected, and any documents I add in here, I'll also be able to pull into Command very easily, and I'll show you that a bit later on in this video. To actually send documents for signature, you're going to go to the Envelopes tab. It's a little bit corny, but if you think of regular mail, you can't just put paper in a mailbox. You have to put it in an envelope in order to send it. You can also think of this as you're creating an email when you create an envelope, attaching those documents and sending them for signature. So you will create multiple envelopes throughout the life of a transaction anytime you're sending a new document for signature. So I'm not going to run through the full process of sending documents through Docusign just in the interest of time, but I'm going to refresh this just so you can see what it looks like once documents have been sent and completed. So you can see here we now have an envelope for our listing docs and it says completed. And if we head back to the Documents tab, you're going to see all of the documents we added into that envelope. So you'll notice each document has a little icon in the bottom right of the preview, and it either says signed or PDF. So when you see signed, you know that is the completed and signed version. The PDF version is the original one that you uploaded that has no signatures on it. So it is important to pay attention to that to make sure when you are uploading documents that you're using the signed version and not the original. So now that our documents are signed, let's head back to Command and take a look at how to actually upload them and send them to the office. So you'll see over on the right that it no longer says Start a Transaction, it says Go to Transaction. And so this is now your link into that Docusign room. Now on the left-hand side, our next step is to pick our checklist type. And the best part about using Command is that it creates a checklist for you so you know what you need to upload for that file. So you'll see here we have 3 checklists. We have standard, and that is if you are in Nova Scotia and listing a property. The commercial checklist is for our commercial team. So even if you as an agent are listing a commercial property, you're still going to choose standard. Commercial, again, is only for our KW commercial advisors. PEI is for our PEI agents. So we'll choose standard just for simplicity here. And once you choose that checklist type, you'll see 3 separate checklists be created down here. Listed, under contract, and closed. So listed for a listing is going to be all of your agency documents and anything pertaining to the listing of that property. So as you come over to the list here in the middle, you have a list of all the different documents that you may or may not need to upload. And this requirement status is going to indicate whether it is required, or if it's conditional, that just means that if it exists and it's applicable to that transaction, you will need to upload it. So FinTrack, for example, is mostly always required unless the seller is a bank or a church. So that's why it's marked conditional, because there are some scenarios where you would not need to complete a FinTrack. So just pay attention to that. If it's conditional, you're going to need to assess whether that document exists for your deal or not. So we've got this list of all the different documents we may or may not need to add, and now we just need to add them. So you can see up here at the top, this is already set to attach files from Docusign because Command knows that I started a transaction and have linked this to my Docusign room. However, when I click this drop down here, I cannot actually click this, it is grayed out. And you'll notice when I hover over it, it says I need to select the working folder to add files. Within Docusign, you can create folders to organize your documents within a room, but 9 times out of 10, you're always going to choose room docs here unless you are going in and creating additional folders. So it does require you to choose the room docs folder, and then you notice this is no longer grayed out. I can select it, and I have a list of all the different documents that were in that Docusign room. So first is my working with a realtor, and I have 2 versions of that, working with the real estate industry.pdf, and then I have one that's signed.pdf. So you always want to choose the signed version. Like I said, you're going to have the originals and the signed versions in your Docusign room, so just make sure you're paying attention to that. Continue with the same thing, seller designated, and my input form. Now, these documents are attached. I did not need to download them out of Docusign and then upload them here. Because the two systems are connected, they pull directly in. I just need to tell Command which document goes on which placeholder. So once we've added all the documents that need to be submitted, all I have to do is come up here and click Submit to MC. Now this is a really important step. Think of it like the send button on an email. If you do not click Submit to MC, we are not going to receive that. Before I click Submit, you'll see our status is open, which indicates to you that it is not submitted yet. It is open. You've just started adding some things. So once we click Submit to MC here, it will require you to confirm that. And now you can see the status has changed to submitted, and it will also show this over on the left beside your listed checklist. So I submitted this to the office, Michaela is going to review it, and then she's going to either approve it if everything's good to go, or she's going to return it to us.